Hello everyone, Eb here with Tech Motorsports, and yeah, here we have another BMW E46. And of course, what do you expect? Pretty much my channel is all BMWs. But yeah, so this was a strictly built race car, never hit the streets, and it was ran, from my understanding, in Canada. So this is a Canada-bred race car, and yeah, so it migrated down to Florida. Customer's been running this thing for a while, and it's pretty much an E46 chassis with an S54 in it. It's got a little tidbits of M3 stuff on there, the bumper, the fenders, and stuff. And but pretty much just a standard. Not sure if it were 330, but yeah. So what we've got is oil temperature issues. So the car has been experiencing high temperatures, and they've been pretty much around the 300-degree range, give or take. So we're going to take a look and resolve that issue. So firstly, let's just dive into the actual engine itself. Let's take a look at the filter housing, because that was one of the concerns when I looked at it, and then kind of go through what I'm dealing with. I do want to add that this car does have an accusump system, so we had to take that in consideration because we did not want to eliminate the accusump. We just wanted to use what's in there. So yeah, let's take a look underneath the engine real quick and see what we got. Okay, here's a quick rundown of what we've got. Of course, the intake manifold has been removed, and here is the filter housing. As you can see, the original filter housing has been completely modified. So the section where the oil filter goes in has been cut off and plugged up. So what this system is running is 3 lines on the original filter housing. So all of these lines have been welded in place, and it has created a massive oil leak, which it just keeps leaking and leaking. If you could look down on the oil rack, you can see how shiny it is, and that is just the oil dumping from that area down into there and just making a mess. Underneath the chassis, you can just see oil all underneath, which oil leaks. I hate them. So just to give you a quick little rundown, so this is the line coming from the accusump system. This is the port out going into the oil filter housing, and then this is the line coming back from the filter. So the remote filter housing is sitting over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove this whole system, the OEM oil filter housing input, a oil filter housing delete. So let's take a look at that real quick. Oil filter housing delete. We have decided to go with the Achilles Motorsports. They had it in stock. We got it here right away. This kit comes with all the bolts, ground strap, and such to get it all installed, with the diagram of where the bolts go and so forth, so forth. And also it comes with the diagram, which I will put this diagram here, here right now. And as you can see, the diagram shows an in and an out. So if you recall, the system that we're working on has 3 hoses going to that oil filter housing. Now, as I started digging into it a little bit more to try to understand, also jumping on the internet, trying to see what is the best way and what is the common way to do the installation, and this is of course before the diagram, was pretty much the diagram itself. So 3 lines versus the 2 lines. I started kind of looking into it, and then breaking that down, following all the lines. The current car does not have a check valve in the system. Now, because it's 3 hoses going into the filter housing, don't know if that system is supposed to have a check valve or not. Don't know if that's causing any issues. But what we're going to do is we're going to start from scratch for the most part, and we're going to install it this way. So by doing so, we needed to order a T-fitting and a check valve, which will be arriving today. So that is one of the things that we're going to be doing, and also we will be replacing the current oil cooler. So with the oil cooler we've decided to go with is this right here. This is a Fluidyne one for a Euro radiator, which the car has a Euro radiator. The brackets for this will be arriving today as well. We decided to go with the Turner ones, the aluminum brackets. So we're going to be installing that and replacing the current ones. So let's take a look at the old oil coolers real quick, and what I plan on doing with the filter housing. All right, so here are the oil coolers. and it has 2 of them now, which is not bad. You know, you get more oil capacity by doing so, and it can cool a little bit better as well. But we've decided to eliminate these in case by any chance they're restricting oil flow or anything of that sort. So might as well just put some new stuff on. So we're going to eliminate all that. I'm also going to go in, and because it's annoying me, it's just having these lines better tucked away and much more cleaner. And also the filter housing, what I mentioned, the filter housing is sitting right here. Now it's a pain in the butt. I wouldn't say a pain in the butt, it's just a mess. It makes a mess when you change it because it's tilted. I am going to move this sucker and put it right here. Now it's not going to restrict the airflow going to the radiator. The temperatures are good, but also what I like is going to assist and cool the oil just a tad bit more with the airflow going in that direction. So that is the game plan, and that's what I'm going to end up doing. And then also it's going to make it so much more easier to change that filter and not make a huge mess down towards the bottom, or just make a mess, period. So yeah. All right, so now I'm just going to jump in to start removing all the parts. So to get better access to the 2 oil coolers up front, I'm going to remove the bumper. I got to drain the oil as well, and then I'll start disassembling the oil filter housing and getting all that done. I have to remove the splitters as well. So I'm going to start working on taking all that, cleaning that area up really well, just to make sure that there is no grime going into it, and then start the installation of the oil cooler. So I'm going to get straight to it. So here is the old one, and you can see that it's just chopped off here. And if I remove this here, you'll see the buildup in there of the aluminum weld. And it looks like also what they end up doing, I guess they added this section here for the power steering pump because it was from a different one. I don't know. That's that's odd, but yeah. So here's the old one, and I already got everything transplanted over to the new one. So got the idler pulley on there. This is what the alternator is going to bolt onto, and I got my oil pressure sensor and a mechanical oil pressure gauge, and then yeah, I already have the gasket that comes with it in the kit. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. This is pretty much butchered up for the most part, and I think it's just going to end up going in the trash. But yeah. Let's get to installing that. I still got to clean the block to get this installed, and I'm also going to go ahead and remove all the oil filter, the oil cooler lines and the oil coolers. I hit a little bit of a snag, and by what I mean is the space between, the space between the bumper, actual splitter, and the radiator. There's not enough room to install this this oil cooler, so I got it zip tied into place. I went to put the bumper on, and I can't get it to butt as it starts to push it down because of the just the thickness or the height of this. So this one has been installed on my customer's other E46s. The only different is it's a different splitter, so it was able to fit. So I'm going to have to create different brackets, and I'm going to take them off of here, bring it down, and I'm going to hang it up front, kind of similar to where the original ones were, so it's going to cover just a little bit of the lower section of the radiator. But yeah, so this one, when I first got it out of the box, I thought it was pretty much a replacement, just a little bit bigger one from the OEM one, the one that Fluidyne makes. But apparently it is not, so even the brackets that we end up using are not going to be reusable. So yeah, just gonna make some new brackets. And also, yeah, so I went ahead and relocated the filter housing. That's where I ended up putting it at. She's nice and sturdy because of the bracket that goes across, and it is just enough to where there's enough space all the way around to be able to spin it and spin a new one on. So and the whole key to that is hopefully that it is straight up and down, and when you take the filter off, it's not going to pour oil down there unless you drop it. So, but yeah, let me start on these brackets. Welding aluminum. Boy, this was tough, but the other attempts that I've tried has come out okay, but this one came out much better. I have been welding more with the TIG on metal, so it made it just a tad bit easier, but the problem I was having is just trying to get a good decent puddle started so I could start feeding the rod. But I was able to get it. Came out pretty good. You can tell this is where I started, and that's how it ended. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm good. So I already got the other one done, which is right here, and that's part of the bracket. This is the one that's going to go mounted on the cooler itself, and these are the holes where it's going to be mounted to. So so yeah, I'm going to keep plugging away with this welding on this aluminum. The brackets are complete. So I went and added this section here. At first I did not have it, and also added a bolt through here, which you can see it better on this one. So now there's two bolts that hold it in. Originally it was just one, and by looking at it, it just made it a little bit too flimsy. Now with the bolt and the other additional bracket here, she's nice and sturdy. So so for the bracket here, I have 3 Allen head bolts to go through there. I went ahead and utilized those slots that were on the oil cooler. So next step is going to be the plumbing and cutting down the original hoses and cutting down them so they could fit to the new location of the oil filter housing, and also getting these out of the way and cleaning it up here a tad bit more. So yeah, happy with the brackets the way they came out. Half of the welds look good. Half of the other welds, I had to grind them down a little bit. They were okay. I boogered it up a tad bit and put too much on, and it's a little tough. I'm getting the hang of the aluminum, but overall, I'm happy with the brackets. They came out really well, so I'm happy. So I'm just gonna keep plugging away. There she is, all put back together now. So all the stainless steel braided lines have been cut down and reinstalled. So everything is now connected. So it's now a closed system. So so yeah, I got these lines that were bugging me earlier. I got these secured and out of the way, so it looks so much more cleaner. The one thing that is bugging me is I don't have 2 straight fittings here. This one has a 45 on it. I used what was already there, and if it had one more straight fitting, it would have been awesome. But I almost just dropped what I was doing and went into town to go get one just to do that. But what the heck, I just reused it. It would look so much more cleaner, but it is what it is. But yeah, so all of that's pretty much been done. Now let's jump up to the top and see how everything looks up there now. Let's start with the where the filter housing was originally located. So they cleaned that whole start tower up. There are no more stainless steel hoses going all the way across, but everything just comes into right here, nice and clean. And then we have the oil filter housing delete plate. So this one is not being utilized. This is just an open port, and we had that sensor off the old one that we're using at now. This is a temp sensor, so if down the road decide to add an additional temp sensor, like its own separate gauge, we could connect to that one. And this is the oil pressure one here, and I have to extend this one. That's the only thing technically remaining down here. But yes, I got my lines going, one underneath the oil dipstick and one going above it. And that right here is where I have the T-fitting and the one-way check valve, which is here, and then that line goes back to the firewall to the accusump. So yeah, so the only thing left now is this connector. I got extended so I could plug it in here, secure this one, and install the intake, and this is technically done. So let me keep plugging away. She's all back together now. So I waited until the bumper was on and everything to change the filter. So I did change it. I was able to get to it and release it and pull it out without spilling but a couple drops. Now, unfortunately, the darn filter is pretty much full to the brim, to where you got to be very careful, otherwise you will end up dripping some, or you can. So but all in all, it's not making a huge mess like it was in a corner, because it was tilted so bad that pretty much all the oil that was coming out of the filter would just pour out. I think, to be honest with you, I mean, trying to be realistic, I probably had like 4 drops drip down. I did have a rag down there just in case it was more, but yeah, I like it. So yeah, so the intake's back on. I checked everything. Oil's been added as well. So I got, unfortunately, I'm not quite done with this car. There are some stuff I'm going to be doing to the back end of that car. There was, or this car, sorry. Bushing was bad, and we're replacing a couple other stuff while we're at it. And one tie rod, lower control arm was bent, so replacing that as well. And which is great because the parts that we were waiting on just arrived pretty much in my time, about an hour ago. So yeah, I'm going to get that knocked out. Hopefully I can get them all pressed out, pressed back in, and assembled, and then an alignment time. So yeah, like always, guys, help the channel out. By doing so, you got to hit the like and subscribe button, and hope to see you in the next video. Have a good one.